Welcome
back
everyone.
to Gears of War Fools.
Hello, I am a representative from Microsoft Game Studios. We have received complaints regarding our new characters from Gears of War 4. We hear that they apparently are not resonating with the audience so well.
That's because they're lame.
Sorry to hear.
So what are you gonna do? So what are you gonna do to remedy that issue, then, Mr. Microsoft?
I have good news. We are taking a cue from our competitors over at Sony. In order to make the characters more likable, we will have each of them save a finite amount of zebras to make it so that you are contractually obligated to love them. And thus you will feel absolutely in touch, in sync, and empathize with them, and feel oh so bad if one of them were to get killed.
So what are we gonna call this game now? Gears Zebras of War?
It's but Mr. Microsoft.
How convenient! There's a fabricator here.
But Mr. Microsoft, I thought the plan was to quote unquote make the characters edgier and angstier and miserable.
Yeah, great. Turned on the light.
Yes, indeed, we will still do that, but in order to make them likable, we'll have them commit the most highest of deeds, again, saving zebras.
Where do we do that?
I mean, according to our competitors over at Sony, that is apparently now the new hip way to get people to like characters.
I thought it was actually catching monkeys with a net.
You know, Microsoft, you might wanna...
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Skevin. That way is completely outdated. And besides, what game are you even talking about? We have never heard of such a game on our register.
A one with more soul, just saying.
It's
What are you talking about? We've had Japan Studio working on much better games than those outdated ones.
I think you should consider, Microsoft, I think you should consider Cliff Blazinski's open offer to be the new head of the coalition.
Start it up.
Personally.
Tell you what, if it becomes desperate enough that we need it, we will consider it.
Only consider it. But yeah, now we have to go into this ore transporter, and there you go. Exactly. Thanks, game.
Anyway, without further ado, I will now take my leave. Thank you very much for your time.
I actually have a question instead, Pedro.
Yes, go ahead.
Because I actually forgot about the trailers we saw. How was the marketing of this? And I'm not talking about pumping up the characters, like... did they hide the existence of the swarm, or did they not make it a secret at all?
In the reveal trailer, they only show JD and Kait during that little section while we're going through Marcus's estate. Shortly after, they get equipped with the cog armors. But they don't show Marcus in there. They removed Marcus and Del because they wanted to keep some of the stuff a surprise and shit. But basically, they show that sequence completely out of context, and it's basically that's it. Like, but it's just it was basically just one of those oh look at that new Gears of War coming moments. Later in E3 2016, there was that demo that Rod was playing. While they're playing a later section of the game that we haven't gotten to yet, that literally ends with a cutscene of Kait going, tell this to your leaders, you motherfucker. We're going to get my mother, and then she smashes his head with her foot, and you know, all this from the perspective of the camera. You know, so she steps on the camera basically. We're gonna see that later on in this game as well, because they actually dedicated. Basically, it was basically just them trying to market this game as well. Like the marketing seemed perfectly fine, and in fact, this was actually one of the.
No. What they wanted to know, like I just said, was did they hide the existence of a return of a Locust or not?
Oh, that they did. For the most part, I think. At least I think they did. I'll have to look back and watch them again to make sure, I guess. But from what I remember, yes. But from what I remember,
at the very least, when we saw this first shown at E3, they never really showed any Locust, from what I recall.
Yeah, same. I don't recall them showing any of that.
Remember, if I recall correctly, I think we had said that Gears 4 was one of the better things shown at that E3 of Microsoft.
Well, it's because it was the only major. Well, actually, there was. Did they show Quantum Break at 2015? I don't remember if they showed.
I don't remember.
Because at the time people were looking forward to that because Remedy is Remedy. So.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing I've noticed when looking back at our old Microsoft E3 commentaries. The E3 commentaries just go backwards in quality, pretty much. Like, compared... Okay, 2015 was Microsoft arguably at their best regarding the E3 commentaries that we've seen. Not counting E3 2010, since that's when... Well, that was one of our, you know, look backs at old E3 commentaries, and that was back when Microsoft weren't really actually rocking the socks off of the gaming community with the Xbox 360.
For me,
the E3 commentaries that we've commentated on, I've noticed a downward trend. Although, sadly, we no longer have the car meme.
The most for me, the most fascinating to me is Microsoft's 2012 conference, because that conference to me is basically the prototypical terrible E3 conference. It has everything. It has them gloating their own egos like Nintendo in 2008. It has Kinect. It has them talking about peripherals nobody gives a shit about, like Xbox Smart Glass. Yeah, remember Xbox Smart Glass? Yeah, that totally took off, didn't it?
I barely remember that thing.
Exactly.
I forget.
Exactly. That conference literally has everything. Literally, think of anything that could go wrong with an E3 conference, and that conference has it. It's amazing.
Again, I'm actually surprised that you didn't pick that one instead of Microsoft's E3 2010 one for our look backs at old ones.
Well, I wanted to go 2010 because that was the first major Connect one. You know, like eventually, maybe one day, if we're bored, maybe we can do the 2011 one, and then eventually the 2012 one.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Do not get me wrong. There are still plenty of bad E3s for us to have a look at. We just picked, like, you know, the cream of the corn for
2010 was the one that. You get to understand, Joe, but the 2011 and 2012 ones were ones that were already expected. Okay, 2012 was even worse than expected, but by the 2011 and 2012 ones, people expected Kinect because Kinect had sold a shit ton on the 360 Kinect specifically, not the One Kinect.
I guess another thing that's different, though, is that by the time of 2011 and 2012, people were more familiar with the Kinect being a piece of crap. Seeing as how, I guess, okay, for as much as we talked about E3 2010 being retroactively a bad E3 conference, in hindsight, when that thing was first shown off, it must have been pretty exciting, actually. You know, since, you know, people assumed it was going to be, you know, a good thing. Heck, to be fair, them showing Last Airbender at that time wasn't the worst thing, since at that time, people who weren't familiar with M. Night Shyamalan, me, the poor suckers, were expecting that movie to actually be good. So, I guess the E3 2010 of Microsoft is one that, you know, bad in hindsight, but, you know, maybe when it was first shown off, it was exciting.
Well, maybe for you, Joe. Maybe for you, Joe, but I can tell that Xbox fans didn't like that conference. That was one of the big reasons why I picked that conference, because, well, for obvious reasons. Because, you know, if you go back and check all the Microsoft E3s pre-2010, you'll notice that they focus exactly on what the Microsoft fan base actually gives a crap about: AAA M-rated titles. You know, not just Halo and Gears. They like, remember, this was back when Microsoft was always proudly talking about how they always get exclusive content for Call of Duty and stuff like that. They always Mass
Effect actually be a Microsoft exclusive before eventually.
Yeah, and even when it went, and even though Mass Effect 2 went multi-platform at the beginning, even then Microsoft did get the marketing rights, so that they could show it at E3. It's like.
Not to mention, the Xbox 360 versions has always been the definitive way to play the games, because the PS3 ports were bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's like exactly, and so you have to understand, Joe, that Xbox fans don't care about casual games. You know, games that are meant for the whole family to enjoy, or even JRPGs, which is why Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon didn't sell well on the Xbox 360.
Do not get me wrong. I know that Xbox fans grew to hate the Kinect. I just didn't know that, you know, from the get-go they hated E3 2010 from the get-go. And no, that is not funny, game.
I can.
Jesus Christ.
Tail, laugh. It's funny, goddammit.
I laugh at the fact that we're almost done with this game already.
Okay, You know what this feels like?
Wow, Teo's
This
already sick
feels
of this
like-
game.
You know
Not
what this
just
feels
that, well, I can't stress enough, I like the lore, but I damn wish we actually moved from location to location instead of being in the same place for 20 goddamn parts.
But Teo, the last part you were complaining that we didn't stick around that long in certain bits. Now we're sticking around in one spot, aren't we?
Wait, I thought I said the exact same thing, whatever. The point being, whatever. The point is that, like, I like these locations, and I wish we were told more, but at the same time, the characters are just moving at a turtle's pace for this one.
Again, let me put it like this. The plot simultaneously is rushing, but also dragging its speed at the same time. How is that the case? It's rushing because, of course, we gotta rescue Marcus, but that's the thing. We've been stuck on this whole save Marcus plot point for quite a notable percentage of the game compared to, well, almost every other story plot point. And no, rescuing Reyna doesn't count because Reyna is not as major a player in the game until the end. Whereas
I mean, does
Marcus,
anybody even care about
again,
Reyna?
yeah, but
Remind me again, technically, the mother of Kait.
Yeah, see, there you go. Thanks, Teo, for proving my
Well,
point.
Pedro, I already told you multiple times I have a trouble remembering names on a constant basis.
True, sure, why not?
I think the point is this though. It's like, well, again, Marcus was actually a playable character. Let me remind you, he had this whole speech about how, you know, this new cog would show the old cog how they've lost their ways, only for him to not long after get snatched up by a snatcher. So yeah, you gave him that one awesome line, and then you pretty much have him get eaten. He's a beloved character, mind you.
And for all we know, right now he's dead. Like, that would actually be the ultimate payoff. If the game basically pulls a 13-2 at the 10, gives you the middle finger at the end and says, no matter how your effort, Marcus turned out to evil's dead hours ago. You just wasted your time.
Fortunately not, Teo. Fortunately not.
I guess they did not have the permission to go that balls deep.
Okay, now to be fair, yeah, I mean, okay, since we saw the marketing for Gears 5 and E3 or whatnot, we know that Marcus will live.
And where the hell are the rest of the veteran characters? God damn it.
Sorry, Jill, you gotta wait for them, but yeah, again
I'm expecting them to just show up for the ending cinematic on a hill to say, yeah, well, we're technically in the game.
Have I missed something?
Teo is getting Teo is getting sick of the game.
Okay.
More in a yes, but also more in a way for the fact that I can see the potential. It's like this close, and yet we don't reach it. Extend your hand, Gabe. You can do it. I'm with you.
Exactly. Okay, look. If Marcus weren't kidnapped, maybe we could have had time to, look around. Or, hell, forget the fact that Marcus is kidnapped. Give the characters some reason to have to look around and explain the lore of stuff here and there. Kind of like what the original Gears trilogy did at times. I mean,
here's an idea. Why don't you make JD the kidnapped one? Then the control at that point shifts to Kait, and you use her as an audience surrogate to get to know more about the place, and through the relation between Marcus and JD, through Marcus himself.
That could have been interesting.
And that way, you can have your cake and eat it too, and potentially sprinkle with more sugar.
And heck, we could have finally given Kait more to do character-wise. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm gonna end up complaining about how she pretty much becomes the goddamn Rey of Gears, but trust me, that doesn't mean that I didn't want her to actually have more of a character, because here, she might as well be a sock puppet that says, "Rescue my mom!"
Yo.
Basically, yeah.
We're pinned down here.
Oh god, more of them!
Yay.
Yeah, sorry Teo, gotta pad this out so that it's at the very least 12 hours long.
And mind you, the gameplay is fun.
The problem is that all this padding makes the gameplay loop overstay its welcome.
Again,
You can make very good. I mean, if this padding were in corporeal form, IRL, you could use it to make a very good soundproofing in your room. So much so to the point where no sound gets in on it.
Okay.
This was more excusable with the original Gears of War, because the original Gears of War didn't have set pieces like the sequels have and stuff like that, but that one was more excusable because it was a 2006 game that pioneered the cover-based shooter. This game came out 10 years after the original Gears of War. Like, by this point, you'd expect a bit more.
Again, remember...
Not just that, from what I did see... Sorry, go on.
Remember sections like that motorcycle section? That again helped break up the monotony of stuff. If we're gonna spend this much time rescuing Marcus, why can't we at least have more interesting set pieces to help spice up stuff? And, you know, I refuse to believe that they weren't given enough of a budget to come up with other ways aside from
That's
just
bullshit.
constantly throwing enemies at us.
This
Or-
studio belongs to a $1 trillion company. There's no way they don't have money.
And this is one of their sacred cash cows, so you better know that they actually are given a budget.
Okay, when we all know they have money, when video game companies say that, oh, this wasn't in the budget, that's also something we mentioned earlier, code for we don't want to go away.
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, if they just said that, you know, we don't want to,
There we go.
then
Gotta get this rig moved.
yeah, how would you take it if they said that?
It's not gonna work.
I appreciate the honesty.
How cool in it?
I mean, okay, look,
Same.
let's be honest, Plebs. If companies were more transparent, that would at least take the load off of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, people would probably still protest a lot of stuff, but at least the companies were more honest. That's like a step towards better company relations with their customers here. But it's like I said, it's part of Capcom's issues here. A lot of Capcom's problems could have been solved if they were just more open with their consumers about why they aren't doing stuff here and there.
I
or
mean, I
at least
know
get
there's some
stuff.
things that for reasons relating to confidentiality or other things, I guess there's some stuff that they outright can't.
Oh, this part. Okay.
The outside.
This part, okay. Basically, JD is about to make yet another bad joke in a few minutes.
Oh, I thought he was about to make another bad decision. But here's the thing, Waves.
Well-
What you just mentioned are basically fossil-style rule that they have no place to exist in this day and age.
Yeah.
Especially since we live in a little day and
Not
age.
divulging stuff that your competitors could take.
Yeah, I forgot
Well,
we had
that's
to
the
keep
thing,
more
Waves, that's the
passwords
thing,
first.
Waves. We live in a day and age where you can't keep secrets anymore. Sooner or later, someone or something will actually find them and use to their own advantage. So.
Also, not just that, but these companies are so bad at tiptoeing around the issue, they might as well just say it anyway, because we all know what they mean. We're not stupid.
Yeah. Special mention
But
goes to
then again, I don't really. When again,
Oh,
when
shit.
it
That's why I'm so. Well, that's exactly it, sure. That's why I'm so harsh. That's why I'm so harsh on Microsoft in particular, because they try to pose themselves as the incredibly consumer-friendly company, but then they do this incredibly anti-consumer shit, like forcing people to pay to play Fortnite. You know, even though you don't have to pay even on any other platform. You know.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, the reason that game is so popular is because it is free.
You don't have to have a PlayStation Plus account or a Nintendo Online account to play Fortnite on those platforms. Why do you need an Xbox Gold account to play Fortnite?
PlayStation. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dribs.
I prefer to see like results. Say if a game shits, then
Oh shit.
Hold on, Dibs.
that's all I need to know.
Listen here. This is it. This is what I was talking about.
What just happened?
I don't know, but this ride sucks.
No
That
shit.
is the weirdest ride I've ever seen.
No freaking duh, Sherlock.
That wasn't the worst joke I heard in this, honestly.
That's though my question. What ride is he talking about? Were they riding something?
Yeah, okay. The game conveyed it poorly, Jonathan, but that's the thing. They actually, like they said, they use the engine rooms to use the coolant to actually have the platform lower. The problem is that thanks to the attack of the swarm, the thing has been gone off balance, and now we actually have to restore it properly.
What are you talking about? I remember very clearly the ride to Universal Orlando, where you nearly get squished to death.
Shit.
Why do I get a feeling that's probably more fun than this whole game?
Getting squished.
Also, Laura, did we not have any other take for that line? Seriously.
Well, I mean, this is probably like the one out of like 55 games she was voicing.
No, but it's such a like. I guess she wasn't really putting her soul into this one.
To be fair, Teo, this script
amazing
this
that
script
the
gives her
break-
very little to work with. Too.
Oh, wait, guys. Kate pointed out something important. It's amazing that the breaks are all of a sudden working.
Ah, this is a Looney Tunes gag.
Yes.
Yes.
And in fact, it's the same. It's kind of the same Looney Tunes gag, but he's back in action.
Don't you get it, guys? Don't you get it, guys? Kate jinxed us by pointing out that it's amazing that the brakes work, which thus in turn causes it so the brakes
Origins.
Let's find out why.
Yeah.
How?
Looney Tunes Back in Action did that joke way better.
Yes,
Yeah. How have any of them broken any bones yet?
Because they're cog. Wait, no, not really cog, but they're sort of the new cog, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 2016, you know, there was Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, Street Fighter 5, Uncharted 4, Batman the Telltale series, and this game.
Yeah, she was voicing a lot of stuff. She always is anyway.
Pedro,
That reminds me, Dwebs. 2016. Go ahead and check which Swan Princess movie came out in 2016 because I think she was still voicing Odette at this point.
So as long as
Let me
Go ahead and check which Swan Princess movie came out in
Swan
2016.
Princess Tomorrow, Pirate Today.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
that's
great.
that's Laura. But however, she's only in it for a brief moment because right at the beginning of that movie, Odette and Derek go away on some kind of mission, and they don't show up throughout the movie until the last 10 minutes. So
I thought you were gonna say she gets killed off.
no, that's the thing, Dwebs. By the time we reach the sixth movie, the series stops being about the actual Swan Princess and becomes about her adopted daughter.
Do
Of
not worry.
course.
Do not worry, Dwitch. The movie doesn't go Karate Kid 4 on us.
Oh.
No, I'm not kidding. In Karate Kid 4, they kill off
okay.
Bob Nut's character.
I will say this, at least the game is actually answering a question that I was about to ask one of these parts. The fact that the Locust, the newly revived Locust, managed to get the weapon so easily. No, apparently the cogs were so stupid that they decided to dump all their arsenal in the same place where they buried the bodies.
For reasons that I have yet to understand.
Not just that. I'm pretty sure their weapons are compatible, to be used by humans. Why don't you salvage them? Salvage the material if you want to adopt a peace tactic of not wanting to any more weapons. Like, salvage the metal and plastic used in it. No, you just dump them near the bodies. What? Because people are gonna find them archaeologically, like 50 years later or something.
Teo, there's peace now. Clearly, we're never gonna need any guns anymore.
No, that's also the thing. See, this would have been the better opportunity to have the game, try a new variety, which is already trying to do, but pushing a bit more to have Locusts that are extremely focused on CQC combat, forcing you to use your gun in a better way, consuming more ammunition and everything.
Hold on, Teo. I'm gonna have to interrupt you here because this
crystals.
Here's the confirmation.
Of course.
See a locust shell.
Still intact, too.
Which means we know one thing.
Yeah, they say that. That's the thing too. Keep that in mind for later too, because
I love that the moment he just said that the ominous jingle resounded.
I think Ramen Chiwandi knows something that we don't.
Guys, there's a problem with this.
what?
Remember how earlier in that discretionary shot with the Locust, we saw them having crystals adorning their body? So doesn't that kind of give away that they have to do
I
something?
guess JD has been thinking straight for a couple of hours now.
Well, Ramen Chiwandi gave away the zombies in this.
Hold on. Okay. Now, to be fair, JD and company apparently did not see that those locusts had those crystals on their bodies, but we, the audience, did. Sure, you could call it foreshadowing. I call it a blatant clue that it is the locust, or that it has to do with the locust.
You don't even have to say that, Joba. I have an even better way. Basically, everybody, I want you, all of you, not just my co-commentators, all of you in the audience, to right now put a pin on what JD just said there. That the swarm aren't the locust. Keep that in mind for the next part when we meet Marcus, who in the meantime has been, let's just say, communicating with the swarm of sorts. because let's just say in the very next part after this, the game is about to completely contradict itself again.
Well, again, it's more like a late reveal that player already knows. Remind me, Drova, again, what's the specific name for the trope where the player knows information that the party, that the characters they're playing as do not know, and they're still pretending they don't know otherwise or know otherwise.
Dramatic irony. It's where the irony is, you know, not known to the characters in the story, but the audience get it.
Because that's precisely what we know. It's not just a matter of, oh, the characters are about to fall into a trap we have seen, being prepared. It's literally a matter of, you know, we know, thanks to the cutscenes and all, we know that the Locusts are coming back, but the characters don't have any particular clues to actually make that assumption correctly.
Not only that, but just look at the mooks we've been taking on, and tell me those aren't locusts. Like, it's
They
not
look
the
that
game's
they
hiding
look like a
them.
locust. They move like the locust.
Let me see if I can put. Let me see if I can put the proper comparison. If it walks like a locust, screams like a locust, and wears a lancer, it is a locust.
No. Yeah, that's basically. I love the way I Am Weasel does that joke, where there's an episode. Go ahead, Joe.
Seriously though, what was the point of that line of, oh, the swarm aren't locusts? Were you trying to make us surprised that the thing that looks and acts like locusts are locusts later on? Because that's a pretty dumb thing to waste time on.
And even if you don't, and even if you think it's not enough that Marcus says it, trust me, Gears 5 will destroy any doubts that these are indeed the Locust.
Yep.
Right, Laura, try to channel Gracie Brown.
Sorry to, but
Surprise!
all right. You know, I in particular, my favorite iteration of that joke there is in Cow and Chicken, where the red guy pretends to be a plastic surgeon and changes chicken into a duck, and by that I don't mean an anthropomorphic duck like the other animals. He literally just an actual duck that just quacks and doesn't even talk, you know. So basically, and they sue that doctor for turning chicken into a duck, and the prosecutor even shows. There you go. See, here's Chicken's pictures from when he was a baby. See, the day his waddle came in. Even now, do you still allege that Chicken is a duck? And then the guy, and then the red guy's like points at Chicken, now a duck. Now, well, he looks like a duck, talks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, and then he quacks. So it must be a duck, Your Honor. And then the judge is like, Jay, you can argue with that logic. Case dismissed. and then Cow is doomed too. And then what's great about the dark humor later. So Cow is crying after that, going, I want my big brother back. And then Mom and Dad are like, oh, don't be sad, Cow. And then Dad's like, that's right. It's not like we lost the son. We gained the duck.
Also, to get back on point for a second, what did that enemy did? They did like a gesture with his hand and like he popped the drones?
Yes. It was a thing that was even in the original trilogy too. Some of the locusts. Oh wait, sorry. Some of the swarm. Yeah, they have the exact same tactics as the locusts from the original trilogy, but they're totally not the locusts.
They're actually mentioning now.
Like what? Evil butterflies?
Let me know when you come up.
Hey, that butterfly metaphor that we brought up at the start of the story now conveniently makes sense now.
You see,
in a sense that he gets hammered into your skull.
You see, Shiro.
Delicious.
You see, Shiro. The fact that JD and Del bicker like an old couple makes them endearing characters.
So here's the question, but I probably shouldn't ask now because it probably will be more relevant in Gears 5.
Go on.
Where and how does that metaphor apply to Kait herself?
It doesn't too.
Actually,
The butterfly metaphor at the beginning of the game is just for the locust. It has nothing to do with Kait herself.
I was expecting there's something. Oh, she's actually a locust drone that's waiting to actually, spring on herself.
Well, I don't know what to tell you too.
Gee, Tio, it's like I said, Tio. The fact that that's what Kate that's pretty much Kate's main
What the hell
contribution.
is that?
How about this,
Yeah.
Teo? How about this, Teo? When it comes to Kate's overall arc over the course of this new trilogy, or however the hell many games this new era is gonna have, keep a lookout for the very final scene of this game.
Okay.
All right, but all right, everybody. So in the next part, we finally find Marcus. And so let's see what Marcus has been up to all this time. See you then.
All right.
Yeah.
So yeah.